Okay, we're rolling right now, but just whenever you want to start, then you choose the key. Okay, now the production starts.
Okay. Hi, my name is Joey Dugan. I'm here with Chris Church, and we're talking to a fellow I just met named Gabe.
Meggs.
Gabe Meggs, okay, who is a prisoner in the New York State penal system. And Chris, behind the camera, is a member of the Society of Friends in Ithaca, New York. And we're interested in solitary confinement because apparently it was something that the Quakers started back in the day, but has morphed into something that is kind of abhorrent to what Quakers stand for. I'm not a Quaker, but I did work in a prison for a summer as a teacher, and I did run a prison ministry for a while. And so I'm very curious as to what Gabe has to tell us. Gabe, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
How old are you?
46 years old.
46. And how long were you in the New York State penal
18
system?
years.
18 years.
Yeah.
Was that for one crime?
No, multiple armed robberies,
Okay.
assault on police officers, guns, and drugs.
Okay, so you committed some serious crimes. And were you in and out of various times, or did all these come down on you at once and you did 18 straight years?
It was 2 times that I went in.
Okay.
I got arrested in New York, caught a case, did about 10 years up here, and then I was transferred down to Pennsylvania.
Oh, was that a private prison, or was that a
No.
state prison too?
It was a state prison. I was in Housedale, I was in Huntington. When you first go into the Pennsylvania prison system,
Right.
you go to what's called Camp Hill.
Okay.
Camp Hill is the reception of all prisons down there. So when you're introduced into the prison system, you have to go through Camp Hill first, and then they send you to whatever prison that you're going to.
Is there a reason that a New York inmate would be sent to Pennsylvania, or is it because...
Extradition.
What is it?
Extradition.
Oh, because you committed a crime
Right.
down there. Okay, I see. So, how did you wind up in solitary confinement, and where was that? Was that in Pennsylvania or up here?
No, I was up here in New York.
Okay,
So basically, it was just my having a bad attitude. Wanted
Okay.
to fight everybody,
right.
getting caught with shanks and knives, stuff like that. And I injured somebody pretty bad up here in New York. I'll never forget that either. It was December 21st, 1994.
Right.
And at first they had given me 36 months SHU, S-H-U, solitary confinement, special housing unit as they referred to.
So, just to make it clear, were you convicted of a crime for this, or was it just handled in-house?
It was handled in-house.
You were never tried, and so your punishment for this attack on somebody was 36 months solitary confinement.
Right.
Did you have any say over that? Did you have any right to appeal or anything in that?
I did, but the evidence was just too overwhelming.
And you accepted it as just
Yeah.
punishment? Okay.
Guy went to the hospital, his whole head was split open,
Oh,
so
man.
it was just a disaster.
Yeah.
But yeah, solitary confinement helped me in a lot of ways, but it also hurt me in a lot of ways. I can, for instance, you're only allowed to have 3 showers a week. You're allowed 1 hour a day out in recreation. And when you do something that is against the rules, they don't feed you, or they'll turn your water off.
How long will they not feed you for?
Up to 21 days.
No food at all for 21 days?
I mean, no, excuse me, let me back up. They'll give you a Nutraload.
It's just bread,
Yeah, it's bread with all the,
vitamins pushed and pumped in? Or?
pretty much it's scraps from all the food that people leave on their trays. They just throw it in a big pot and stir it up and make these loaves that are absolutely disgusting. Nobody eats them.
So what do? Do you just not eat it all for
Yeah,
21 days?
just don't eat.
I've done that. I fasted 30 days on just water for health reasons.
Yeah,
Under
yeah.
doctor's supervision can actually be good for you.
Absolutely.
You get that taste on your tongue, all the poison's coming out? You ever get that?
No.
Coated tongue? No? Oh, that's common. All right.
And when they don't feed you, what prisoners do is they'll make fishing lines. They'll take their sheets, rip them up into small little lines,
Right.
and they'll throw them down to a buddy's cell. And the buddy puts on whatever food he might have in his cell, saved up from a day or two before,
Right.
and you pull it in your cell.
And they take care of each other like that.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that nice? Kind of.
The problem is how you gonna keep your food cold if they give you meats.
Right, so you gotta eat it right away.
Put it in the toilet.
Oh, no.
You get a little plastic bag, you tie it up,
Oh, it's
keep it
plastic
cold.
bag.
Keep it cold in the toilet.
Oh,
When they turn your water off, that's the water, the only water you have. You're allowed 1 or 2 flushes a day. So,
you're only allowed 2 flushes a day, so sometimes you gotta like leave your stuff just sitting there.
yeah. So they'll come by. I think you get 5 minutes to use the bathroom. You flush it. There's your water.
So is the bathroom in the cell?
Yeah.
How big was the cell?
6 by 9.
6 by 9.
Yeah.
How high is the ceiling?
About as tall as this ceiling right here. About
7 feet? You
Yeah,
said
6.
7.5? That doesn't
six-
look like a high
6
ceiling.
up, 9 long.
Wow.
And you have a front gate and you have a back gate. The front, it's one gate's usually for you to exit from. The other gate is when they want to extract you from the cell.
I see, by force.
Yeah,
And did that ever happen to you?
quite a few times.
What kind of thing would they extract you for?
Well, so a lot of the officers up there, correctional officers, they have a nasty attitude. Guy might come by, pushing the meal cart, and for some reason you guys might not like each other. He'll just pass on by your cell and you just won't get to eat that day. Period.
Because you said something inappropriate? Or-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, he might bring the law library card by at 6 o'clock in the morning. You might not get your books, and then you start cussing whoever brought the library card by. So when lunchtime comes around, you just won't get lunch. And it might even continue on to dinner. So by then your stomach is touching your back because
I guess so.
they don't really give you a lot of food on those trays.
What time of day would you get the exercise?
You get the exercise between 8 and 9 in the morning.
In the morning?
Yeah,
And did they always give you that, or did sometimes they would?
they'll burn you on that too.
Wow.
But
Did you ever turn it down, or unless
No.
you always went? That was your treat.
rain, sleep, snow, whatever.
And what was it like? You were just out in the yard and walked around by yourself?
You're in a cage, literally a cage, like in Clinton, Dannemora. The special housing unit is up near the death row inmates.
Okay.
All right,
Special housing unit being where?
SHU, solitary confinement.
Okay.
That's what it's called, SHU,
Right.
special housing unit.
All right.
So you go out there for an hour and you're in a cage. It's a little bit bigger than this area. A little bit bigger, just one cage.
6 by 6, 7 by 6?
Yeah,
And that's your outdoor activity?
that's your outdoor activity.
Are you kidding me? You're in a cage, like when you say a cage, it's like fenced in?
Yeah, literally. But solid bars, just this little square.
Can you see out at least?
Yeah, you can see a wall. You can see the
And
deck
that's
row.
your exercise?
Yeah, that's your exercise.
Well, what's the difference from being in the cell?
You get fresh air.
Oh, there's some fresh
Yeah.
air.
So
How bad is the air in the cell? Pretty rank? I know
it gets,
in the place I worked with, it always seemed very confined and,
yeah, the windows aren't open.
right.
Like, I know they weren't open in Clinton, Dannemora. It's just an enclosed space, so my neighbor's using the bathroom over here, I'm gonna smell them. Yeah, it's
man.
bad.
So when you were doing solitary, it sounds like you had cells near you that you could send these strings out to bring the food.
Yeah, so there's-
you could call out at least and communicate with somebody, how you doing, Johnny, or something, and he could call back?
Yeah, so there's, up in Clinton, Dannemora, They've got 12 cells to a gallery. There's 3 galleries: A gallery, B gallery, C gallery. C gallery was kind of like,
That's all solitary people? 24 people at a time?
yeah, well, 36 altogether.
36?
Now, you can't really communicate with somebody who's on another gallery because
Right.
it's just too far away.
Right.
C gallery in Clinton Danamora was kind of like the penthouse of solitary confinement. And a lot of those guys had a lot more serious cases where they were in there. They were on, what's that called? They weren't solitary confinement status. They were just restricted from population.
So they were there for their own safety, perhaps, because they committed a crime that they get attacked for?
Not really. These were guys that they had already done their time in solitary confinement. So, for instance, there was a guy named Angel Torres, and he was well known for having people stabbed up or killed.
Oh,
So he did his time in solitary confinement, but the day he gets off solitary confinement, they throw him in, I forget what the term is, but they throw him on this other restrictive level where he just can't come into population. They don't feel safe.
it's just not worth it to send him back.
Yeah.
So there's a certain amount of justice. I mean, somebody like that should be there, right? I
Yeah.
mean, in the sense, well, what are you going to do with him? You got to do something.
Yeah.
So when you were on the solitary, say on, what did you call it again with the chief? What was the word you said? Your row was
Oh, a gallery.
your gallery. Okay. In your gallery, could you call out and communicate with other people on your gallery at least?
Yeah.
Did you know any of them before you came in, or did you kind of meet?
I knew a few guys that I'd met in population.
Yeah.
They'd get locked up and get sent up. And see, the interesting thing about solitary confinement, you go from jail to prison, to an even harsher prison almost.
Right.
Solitary confinement is a prison within a prison.
Sure.
I was in Southport. Have you ever heard of Southport?
South Fork?
Southport.
Southport, no.
All right, it's in Pine City. Pine City is,
In Pennsylvania.
no, that's up here.
Okay.
It's basically across the street from the Elmira prison.
Right.
Southport is all box. It's just one prison, just solitary confinement.
So it would be the most difficult prisoners from all over the state are sent there?
Exactly.
Wow.
And you usually have to have, there's a minimum 10 years to even get in there.
You'd already have to have done 10, oh, you have to have a minimum 10-year sentence.
No 10-year sentence in solitary confinement.
Wow. Wow, so people are in there for 10 years solitary, yeah?
10 years is nothing.
Some people are in there for life. They're never getting out.
They're just not getting out, period.
Would you say mental illness is a problem with some of these people?
A lot of mental illness plays a major part. And here's the thing, a lot of the, not to get off track, but a lot of the mental health staff are desensitized.
Sure.
And they'll make terms like, comments like, oh, you're all better now? Yep, okay, you're good. And just walk away from you. They're not going to actually take you out of the cell and sit down and see how you're doing. Go kill yourself. They'll just tell you that blatantly to your face.
So did you struggle with mental illness problems? I mean, who wouldn't in a place like that?
See, I did. I was actually in a mental institution out here in society for 3 years
Right.
straight.
Yeah.
I was in Northwestern Institute of Psychiatry. I was in Virginia. They were both down in Pennsylvania. I did some time up in Rome, New York. There's a mental institution up there.
Do you mind sharing your diagnosis with us?
Bipolar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a common one today.
My condition wasn't as bad as
Right.
other patients.
Sure.
I mean, I've seen some horrendous stuff. But what happens is when you're stuffed in a cell and left to vegetate, your mental condition just deteriorates. it gets worse.
I can imagine. I can't, I don't have any particular diagnosis, but I don't think I could take it for 2 days. You know?
You know, if some people can hang and some people can't.
Do people commit suicide often in these kind of things?
Yeah, a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll lock the area down, and then what the guards will do is they'll go in the cell, pull the body out, and all the other property that guy might have had in the cell. Like, you don't know why he killed himself. Suppose his family member died, his mother died, his brother died,
I know
whatever.
that's a big thing, yeah.
And this might have been a really good dude, just decided to kill himself, you know? And they'll just take all this property and just hand it out to their trustees or poor.
Well, they keep it for themselves?
Yeah, like there might be cartons of cigarettes. They'll just give them out to guys that they're little rats or whatever.
As
you know what I mean?
rewards, yeah.
But when it comes to solitary confinement, the way that I survived myself was I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of writing, a lot of writing.
Chris told me that, you were a poet, yeah.
Yeah, I love writing, and that was the only thing that kept me alive, like mentally.
Now, where is your writing now? Have
I've
you been
been
able to save
scattered
it?
all over the place. I don't know if you know a gentleman by the name of Kyle Walker.
I do not know him.
He used to be a deacon of a church on Albany Street. I forget what it's called, but
In Ithaca or?
Yeah, in
Oh,
Ithaca.
okay.
I gave him a lot of my writing. Marsha Fort, who used to be with, she used to be the director of GIAC.
Yeah.
I gave her some of my writing. I just spread it all around, and
You lived in Ithaca for a while.
yeah, yes.
That'd be interesting. Somebody should put it online.
Yeah, I've actually put a couple pieces online. Didn't really get anywhere with it, so I kind of like gave up. I almost-
Could people who see this video find something online that you wrote?
It'd be difficult.
Okay.
You know, it'd be difficult.
Is your name on it?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you have an unusual name, Gabe. Again,
Meggs. Meggs.
how do you spell that?
M-E-I-G-S.
So if we Google Gabe Meggs writing, we might be able to find it somewhere.
Yeah, you might.
Yeah.
There's like, I think there's like 2 or 3 pieces.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice. All of a sudden, your feelings get out there.
Yeah, I sent some to Ashley Bandelli, who is the editor of Essence magazine.
Oh.
I didn't get any response from her, and I don't even know if my mail went out. And that's another thing with solitary confinement. You're like, first of all, in Clinton, Dannemora, you leave general population, you go into an elevator, and there's like speckles of blood all over the elevator walls.
Right.
Because once they get you in the elevator, there's no cameras. So they can just do whatever they want.
Ah.
So you get up there, they strip you, you know, and they have this whole thing where you face the wall, you know, hands against your legs spread and everything, and if you do anything wrong, they just beat you mercilessly.
Do you feel like some guards are just like looking to beat somebody? They got a chip on their shoulder?
A lot of those guards up there, literally, a lot of those guards have tattoos of black babies hanging from a rope, tattooed on their arm. It's a literal fact. I haven't been back to prison and say.
So would you, what, most of the population African American or Latino, would you say? Or about half and half? A lot of white guys there too in
A
prison?
lot of white guys.
Yeah, but most of the guards are probably white because they come from an area of the state that's white.
Once in a blue moon, you might come across a black guard.
I know downstate you have more black guards.
Naturally, like Sing Sing.
Right, awesome.
And yeah. Usually when you get up in the mountains, like Clinton and whatnot, they're white.
Yeah. And do you feel like some of them are members of the Ku Klux Klan or some Aryan Nation or something wearing a tattoo like that? God.
Yeah. Well, surprisingly enough, maybe 10 miles away from Clinton, the Grand Wizard lives up in that area.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I don't really attribute, I know it plays a major part in it, but I don't really attribute race to my situation.
Right.
My parents are white from a really good background.
Where did you grow up? I didn't remember.
I grew up in Ithaca.
You did?
My dad was John Meigs, is John Meigs. He's one of the developers who designed the octopus.
Really?
Yeah. He and my mom, Marcia Meigs, both went to Cornell. You know, really good people, wonderful people.
Right. Do you have any brothers and sisters?
I had a brother named Sean Meigs. I don't know if you ever met him.
No.
He had a dog named Bandit. Chris knows him.
Was he ever involved in criminal justice, that kind of thing, or?
Yeah, but not as extensively as I was.
Right.
It was with him. It was pretty much him being drunk or
Right.
somebody messing with him. He never really, maybe a couple of months in jail, if that.
Right.
I doubt. He was really into reading, listening to rock and roll, smoking pot, drinking.
So, well, what got you started in that criminal lifestyle? Do you feel like it was drugs was the main thing that got you going, or
No.
was it your bipolar disorder, or was it just you made some bad choices? Would you say?
So.
Because it sounds like you were the type of guy who had other options.
Yeah, I really did. I could have went to school for, whatever.
Right.
So it was partly due to my mental health, but it was also like I was adopted.
Right.
So I didn't really know myself.
Right.
And when you don't know yourself, it's easy for you to be led around by the nose.
Right.
And introduced to things that really aren't, cool.
Sure.
So, with me trying to find myself, I got into things trying to prove myself, fighting, violence, robbery, selling drugs, and all these things that I was trying to identify myself with just weren't me.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I did them, but it wasn't me.
I know the feeling. As a teenager, yeah, you get in and you follow the crowd.
Peer pressure.
Yeah. How old were you the first time you got arrested?
I was a teenager.
Right.
Like early teens.
And what age were you first incarcerated?
'87.
So 1987?
Yeah, so I had been.
That's 33 years ago, and you're 46 now?
Yeah,
So you were 13, to 14,
13,
something like
14,
that.
something
Wow.
like that.
And they actually put you in, how long were you in for them?
3 years.
3 years, so you
Yeah.
committed a serious crime at the age of
Well,
13.
what it was is I started out, I was in DeWitt Middle School,
Right,
and
where I play ping pong now.
play ping pong.
Yeah. Are you a ping pong
I
player?
am like a master.
Oh, so am I, I'm pretty good.
I'm very serious with that.
Oh, good.
I love it though, it's fun, it's a
Oh, it's a great game,
fun
yeah.
sport. So I used to be up there and I just continually got myself into trouble, like beating people with desks, chairs.
Wow. Really? In the middle school, yeah.
Started out with me being put on pins. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, sure.
Person's in need.
Yeah, I was a school
supervision.
teacher for a long time, so I know all that stuff, yeah.
It just got worse and worse, and started stabbing people with pencils and whatnot. Like it just
Jeez.
got bad.
At such a young age.
Yeah.
And your parents raised you okay? You didn't feel like
No, my parents like they
there's no
were
reason
fine.
for you to be like that?
There's no.
Did you have
reason.
violence with your brother like that at home?
No. In fact, he and I rarely ever talked until he passed. He and my mom both passed. But
Did you have learning disabilities or anything where school might have frustrated you?
they put me in kind of like special ed classes.
Right.
But it wasn't so much that I couldn't comprehend what they were teaching me. It was just I just had no interest in just sitting there and just being, oh man.
Yeah, you
this
hated
is
the
so
system.
freaking
Yeah,
boring."
it's not really cut out for boys, is it?
And I'd rather hang out in the hallways or hang out, a couple girls, whatever the case may be, or friends. It just school wasn't appealing to me.
Well, join the club. I hated school as a kid too.
But my regimen in solitary confinement really gave me some discipline. So there are benefits, and then there's also the pros and cons. I used to wake up every morning at 6 or so, and I'd do my 5,000 jumping jacks straight
5,000.
every single morning straight.
Wow.
And embarrassing thing is, as soon as you get done doing 5,000 jumping jacks, you sit right on the toilet because your insides turn to water.
I guess so.
Then I do got into, I love martial arts and jiu-jitsu. So I used to write all my studies out and put them on the wall with toothpaste because we didn't have tape. And I'd just study them all day long. Read, study, exercise, run.
Who are some of your favorite authors? So what kind of stuff did you read that?
I used to love Robert Ludlum, Eric Van Lustbader, George Jackson. He was a political prisoner.
Sure, I know about him.
I used to read. I loved espionage. It's that guy that I used to write Jack and Jill or something like that. It wasn't one of my favorite, but I got into quite a few different stuff like Behold the Pale Horse by William
Sure.
Cooper.
Yeah, I know the book.
The Prince Machiavelli,
Sure. Yeah. The Art of War, Sun Tzu.
Yeah, Art of War. Sun Tzu.
Yep.
Yeah. Then there's I also read George Orwell, Animal Farm,
Animal Farm, yep.
and then he had
1984.
1984.
How about, what's the other one, Brave New World? Have you checked that out? If you haven't, you should read that.
I never checked that out.
That's better than 1984.
Who's
And
that?
it's truer. The guy's name was Aldous Huxley, and he was related to the upper class English people. His uncle, I think, it was his uncle or his great uncle, was Huxley, was part of a triple team. They called him the Bulldog, but Darwin and Francis Galton.
Okay.
And Francis Galton was the great mathematician who coined the term eugenics. So they were all together. So Huxley was just writing what they were doing.
Yeah.
See, and it's supposed to be a novel, but he was just telling or magnifying the population control people, how they work in the world.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good read. Orwell was more mainstream, but Huxley, it's more it's more what's going on.
Yeah.
Creepy, but
I used
you
to
might like him. Yeah.
also read 48 Laws of Power, stuff like that.
40 Loaves of Power.
48 Laws of Power.
I don't know that.
Robert Greene.
Okay, I'll check that out. I'll check that out.
But I that's how I kept myself alive, reading and writing.
I can imagine. Yeah. Now, when you wrote, did you just save all your writing, or were you able to give it to guards?
No,
or anything like that?
no, I was a complete nut when it came to writing. So I kept my writing, but I was very, what's the word, methodical. I could write 100 pages in one day,
Okay,
just by hand.
right.
And I had pretty neat handwriting. So I would take a notebook, write everything out, and then I would copy that whole entire notebook 100 times. I'd write 100 pages, you copy it 100 times. And every time that I copied it over, you'd see something you'd want to cross out.
Improve, yeah.
Revise, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that would just go on and go on until I was happy with the product.
No, but what happened did the guards ever take the product away from you, or?
No, on occasion they did, and that's when you lost stuff, because when they come in and strip sell you, sometimes they'll come in and take everything from you and just give you nothing. You just won't have anything.
You just be naked?
Yeah, you just won't have anything.
Is that a consequence for bad behavior, or is that just they do it for no reason?
No, they do that for quote unquote bad behavior.
Right.
So I
That could be talking back or something?
Yeah, and other minor stuff when you're using a bathroom and there's females walking past, you have no privacy.
female guards, I'm assuming, yeah.
Yeah, you have no privacy, and they'll just stand there and talk shit to you through the bars. So I just put a curtain up, take my blanket, hang it up,
Right.
and you
And that's considered breaking the rules.
yeah, you get written up for that. So you get like a.
Do the women ever make sexist comments, inappropriate comments to you?
No, no, no.
All right.
The nurses never made comments like either, but see with them is like the female guard that come through, and they'll let guys masturbate to them while they stand in front of their cell. And they'll go on to the next cell, do the same thing there. It's the same thing with the nurses. So oftentimes when the nurse comes through in the morning,
And the guard, I'm assuming the guys like that,
yeah, you know, that's their only way of getting.
fantasizing,
Yeah.
whatever, yeah.
So usually when the female nurse comes through, they'll have a male guard with it. So if anything happens, they'll write you a tier 3 for exposing yourself, and then they'll just shit on you. You know what I mean? I mean, they won't feed you. Medical assistance. It's a disaster. Another situation I had was.
Can I hold on for, Chris, are you sure we're getting enough sound here? Because he's talking kind of quiet and you're kind of far away and there's noise in the background. Is there any way we can move closer? Or maybe you could just make sure you talk a little louder. Because I feel this isn't, the only mic is in there. I don't want to miss this, this is great stuff,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, so I'm sorry to interrupt, go ahead.
Another thing that they used to do to me, and it was, at first I didn't like it, but I got immune to it, where when they come and take you out for showers, you're always in shackles and handcuffs.
Right,
They walk you down to this big cage where you take a shower. They lock you in the shower for about a half an hour. As soon as you get in the shower, the police will be in the window, the guards. They'll turn the water all the way cold. Oh,
and you can't get away from it?
well, I mean, you can get away with it if you just get out of that immediate shower
Right, right.
area. But, you know, I'm standing there in the shower, and after a while, I just condition myself to stay there for the entire time. You know, and that cold water actually, you know,
Makes you feel alive, there's nothing
yeah,
else.
exactly.
And they would do that as a consequence for, or
Not even a consequence. They just
do it to,
do it just to mess with you.
just to be mean.
You know, it's more of a mental thing with them, a mental and physical thing than anything else. You know, they really try to break your spirit up there.
Right,
The way they talk to you, you put your mail, you give them your mail. A lot of times your mail is not going anywhere, especially if you're trying to send out like complaints to the, say, attorney general or whoever, appeals, not going anywhere. You know what I mean?
Do they read your mail?
Oh yeah.
Everything is right.
Oh yeah. They send to your mail. As soon as it comes into the facility, they'll open it up. All your mail is opened. All of it. And you know, it's like a violation of privacy, if you ask me.
Of course.
It's
Oh, absolutely.
you have no idea how many ways they break the rules. It's insane.
Mm. Now, did you ever do any work to find out who your real parents were?
No.
Or anything? You're not interested in that? No, okay. So you did, now, you said you did a 3-year stretch in solitary in Pennsylvania? Did I get that right?
No, in Pennsylvania, I was, in Pennsylvania, it was, I didn't do any SHU time in Pennsylvania. I was down in Pennsylvania, I was in 2 psychiatric wards,
Oh, I see.
and one right after the other.
Were they better than
Way
solitary?
better, way
Yeah.
better.
Did you
way
get to
better.
mix with other people and that
Yeah.
kind of thing?
I mean, it was, called AAU, Adopted Adolescent Unit.
Oh, so you were young at the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were decent people. I mean, their
Right.
way of dealing with you, if you got out of hand, is they tackle you, put you in 4-point restraints and gave you an IM, which is shot in the ass, and a Vesprin. 10, 15 minutes later, you're snoring. You know what I mean?
Really?
And they would keep you there until they felt that you were under control.
Right.
And then when you came out of that, being under, you know, that Vesprin, they just up your meds through the roof.
When you were young, like in elementary school or middle school, did you take any medications then?
No. No.
Were you diagnosed with ADHD or anything
Nope.
like that? No?
I had went to several psychiatrists because I did have anger problems,
Right.
but I wasn't on any medication.
How old were you when you were adopted?
About 3 months.
So you lived with your natural mom for 3 months, or you were right in the
No.
hospital right away? You don't know?
I went right to, my parents adopted me. I guess I was in some, what do you call that, some adoption aid, what do they call it?
Adoption agency, yeah.
My parents got me pretty much from the hospital. My mom didn't want me, my dad didn't want me, or they weren't capable of taking care of me.
Do you have any idea where it was, where that was?
I was born in Endicott, New York,
Sure.
so in that area, Broome, I think
Right.
it's Broome
And
County.
do you know your real parents' names? Or
No.
No.
Don't know anything about it.
I'm not curious.
I know I have a twin brother.
Really?
Yeah.
Identical or fraternal?
I'm assuming identical, but
So somebody walking around looking
Yeah.
like you. Hey, maybe he did it. Maybe you're innocent.
you know, it's crazy because a lot of people can't take solitary confinement.
Oh, I can imagine.
I mean,
I didn't realize this went on. I heard that most people can't take it for more than a few days. They flip out.
a few days. So the rule is, I guess in Pennsylvania, right now, you can't be in solitary confinement longer than 3 or 6 months.
Okay.
So after, let's just say 6 months, they have to release you back out in the population.
Right.
In New York, I've heard it's changed as well, but what I got out in 2010,
Yeah.
or you know, around there,
You've been out since 2010? That's
Yeah.
10 years now you've been
Yeah.
out.
out. So it used to be where you could just do 20, 30, 40 years straight in solitary confinement. They would throw you away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, there's a lot of stuff that prisoners do in solitary confinement where you can kind of, the guards are justified for coming in and having to deal with you. Like, guard walks past and I've got a cup of feces and I
Yeah,
throw
yeah,
it
I've
in his
seen that.
face,
Right.
you know. But usually, oftentimes, that guard did something
Right.
to ask for that. You can't really do anything else.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when you come out your cell, you back out, you're already handcuffed. They put shackles on you, walk you to the yard, or walk you to, say, the infirmary or whatever, medical, and you can try to spin around, fight with guards and all that, and then they'll just pull their sticks out and just beat you senseless and throw you back in the cell. And
Were you able to watch any television or anything like that? No. In main population, could you?
in population, yeah, you can do that. They even have TVs that they sell on commissary.
They sell them.
Yeah.
You can earn money, or your family can send you money, or some kind of thing.
Yeah, they can, like, they send, but they always, you know, they always dock all the money that comes in.
Right.
So, let's say you get $10, you're only gonna see about $7 or $8 out of that, if that.
Why?
If court fines, court fees,
Oh,
plus you have to pay for your, you have to pay for being in prison.
yeah. You know, I've heard stuff like that.
Yeah,
Explain,
it's true.
explain how that works. Everybody in prison has to pay for it if they
Yeah.
have if they have resources.
And
I know they cut off your Social Security if you go to prison.
so I think it's 5 cents a day or something like that, which adds up because
Oh, sure.
I used to work down in Pennsylvania in the coal mine, making 42 cents an hour, and So out of that 42 cents, they're taking, their PC out of that. So
now, that's really slave labor when they're taking prisoners and paying them 42 cents an hour, which is real. Did you volunteer for that?
oh yeah, I signed up for it.
Because it's better than
I
staying
mean,
home, and you can get.
Usually what they'll do is you'll either have to go to some programs or get a job. And if you don't want to do either, your activities are limited,
Right.
severely limited.
What kind of programs would that?
Like drug and alcohol programs, school, you know what I mean? I think they were paying people like 10 cents a day to go to school. You know what I
Paying
mean?
them to go to school.
And give you an allowance of 10 cents a day. I wasn't in. I just wasn't with any school programs or drug.
Yeah, you didn't like school.
I didn't want any of that. You know what I
Right.
mean? I wanted to go out to the yard, and I had my hustle in prison too, which was in Pennsylvania. I used to run wax for people. So when I went to my job, I'd take my bag with me, and I'd get these bottles of wax from my job and sell them to people back on the
Wax?
yeah.
Why would people want wax?
Floor wax. So a
Oh,
lot of old timers have been in prison for 20, 30, 40 years straight.
they want a clean floor.
Yeah, they want their floor looking like glass. I'd bring them bottles of wax.
They give you some money for that?
They'd give me the currency in Pennsylvania is tickets and cigarettes.
Right.
Photo tickets, ice cream tickets,
I
that
see.
kind of thing. And then at nighttime, I'd go out there and I'd collect everybody's tickets, write what they wanted down, and I'd go to the store for them and get their ice cream or whatever. You know what I mean? Come back, then they'd pay me. They would pay me for going to the store. Well, I was able to buy my kids buy them all TVs, off commissary. TVs like $200.
Did you have kids while you were in prison?
Yeah.
You had children while you were young?
I had on my Pennsylvania bid, I was out for maybe 3 to 6 months. You know what I mean? And
And that's where you fathered a child? Or
yeah,
I see. So how old is your oldest child now?
my oldest child, 20, 21.
Are you in touch with him or her?
He was my very first. His mother died while I was in prison, so
From drugs?
no, cancer of some sort.
Do you know what's become of him?
I guess he's doing rather well for him. Like, he doesn't acknowledge me at all.
Right,
Like, me and his mother weren't really on the best terms.
right.
But one thing I will say is that since I've been out of jail or prison, the last time I was in county jail up in here in Tompkins County, I knew that I'd never wanted to come back. And it wasn't because I was scared, because I got along with everybody, The guards could see a big difference in me,
Yeah, they say 35 is the magic age, that there's very little people committing serious crimes and getting back in after the age of 35.
That's not true. That's not true. Statistics are, some of them are on point, a lot of them aren't, but.
Well, things could have changed since I heard that. I heard that a long time ago.
Yeah, there's a revolving door. It's just insane right now.
But even people in their 40s are committing crimes to go back in.
Especially,
Do you think some people subconsciously like prison better?
Yeah, but they're institutionalized.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's all they know is drugs and going back and forth. It's a lot easier for some people to live, behind the wall than it is for them to live out here.
Right, at least you get 3 square meals a day or
Exactly.
whatever. Yeah, that kind of thing, yeah.
And I mean, you can get drugs in jail.
It's warm in the wintertime,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of thing.
And that's what happens is when it gets cold out here, a lot of people venture right back to jail.
They purposely do something
Yeah.
to get back in, yeah.
It just got to a point with me where I was just done. I'm done.
Yeah.
You have no privacy in there.
Right.
You're treated like a slave.
Or an animal.
Guards spit in your food. So every time you, like, one time I was in Coxsackie Correctional Facility. It's in Greene County here in New York. And woke up in the morning and I was expecting to have nice little waffles or pancakes, whatever, and sausage. Woke up, tray, there's a finger in my tray. Somebody had cut somebody's finger off in my tray. I was starving too. I really wanted to eat that. I was like, here's your tray.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, I don't know if you ever heard of the CBS killer. Years ago.
CBS?
CBS killer.
CBS, no.
Well, he was used to work for CBS. Or
Oh, really?
Maybe he didn't work for it, but he was killing off the staff there.
Really?
This is back in the 80s.
I never heard of that.
Over in, it happened over in Auburn Correctional Facility.
Right.
Guy was messing with him in the kitchen and cut somebody's head clear off their shoulders in the kitchen. There's a lot of stuff going on in jail, and usually when you murder somebody in prison, you only get like 10 to 15 years. Whereas if you're out here in society, they're
You
gonna
might get
go
life.
look at you.
Yeah.
It's pretty serious.
So people do it because what the heck?
Yeah.
They know they're not getting out anyway, they don't really want to go out, and if somebody's bothering them, or if they're just in a bad mood, well, I killed a man just to watch him die, like Johnny Cash said.
Yeah, and it's like people want to look tough in other people's eyes, but
Right.
what happens is they'll do 10 years in solitary confinement, and they throw them right back out in, population.
Right.
I've come across a lot of people who have no sense of humanity inside them. No sense of humanity. All they think about is,
Drugs.
no, killing people. Like, killing people. Literally just killing people.
Did you have any religious training as a child?
As a child, I was Episcopalian,
Right.
Christian.
Now, how about in jail? Are there religious services at all?
So, when I first went to jail, I used to attend Bible study and church. But then
Right.
when I went to prison, I took my deen and became Muslim.
Right.
And that's when I did something to one of the other Muslim brothers, it was over drugs and some money that I had owed, and he threatened me, and I did what I had to do, to save
Right.
my life. And after that, I just never went back to religion as far as in prison. Just done.
Right.
And a lot of people really don't like going to the Christian services in places like Danmore or any other facility for that matter, because it's just a lot of people having sex in church, passing drugs in church. It's more of a place to get closer to somebody that you don't have access to in regular population.
When you go to religious services, is it people from the outside coming in?
The people like in jail, like in Tompkins County Jail, will be people who come in from the outside,
Right.
like yourself.
Right.
All right. In prison, sometimes they have people come in from the outside. Sometimes you have to
Right.
get all those special OKs from Albany and whatnot.
So then, what would it be? Just prisoners running the thing themselves?
Well, they have a priest in prison usually.
Oh, like a chaplain.
Chaplain.
Oh, yeah.
Come
Okay. So
by.
he's a paid person. Who
Yeah.
does that? Yeah. But does he allow the sex to go on in front of him? I mean,
He turned a blind eye.
yeah.
He
yeah.
turned a blind
Yeah,
eye.
he has to make a decision one way or the other. So.
Yeah, and not only that, but they're even in on it. They get desensitized after a while.
Sure.
They get tired of being cursed at and spit at. And,
Right. And it's
Disrespect.
dangerous. Right. They could
Yeah.
be threatened too.
um,
Man.
and it's prison is desensitizing to everybody.
Yeah,
The teachers, the psychologists, the medical staff, the guards, the prisoners,
sure,
you know.
yeah.
It's just seeing the same monotonous thing every day. You know. So, you know, after a while you start to isolate yourself. You know, if you're locked in a cell for 96 months straight and you're seeing all this stuff happening, like riots happening, people getting stabbed in the hallway, like, you know, I was in jail with, I was in prison in Comstock, Great Meadow, with the guy Colin Ferguson, who did the Long Island,
Sure, you killed 4
shooting.
people on the subway.
yeah,
Yeah,
I was in SHU with him, solitary confinement.
how was he?
A nut job.
Yeah,
Just a, you know, he would get on the gate every morning, and hello gallery, this is Colin Ferguson talking to you from cell such and such. You know, and then when people would have conversations on the gallery amongst themselves, like from cell to cell, he would interject his input, and everybody hated him. Like they had to lock the jail down in order for him to go anywhere because
everybody was out to get him.
everybody's out to kill him. Everybody. Whenever
Yeah.
you walk by in the shower, everybody had a cup of shit for him. Everybody. And the guards,
Just the
the
popularity.
guards would just, they would just stand.
Did you ever hear of somebody named Kendall Francis? I think that was his name. I taught school, and he lived right down the street from the school, and he was actually a custodian in another public school nearby, another high school. And people would walk, he lived with his parents, and they were walking by his house, and people started to smell things, and he had 7 women buried in the basement.
Wow.
And it was right down the block from my school, and they were prostitutes. In fact, one of them was a aunt of my son's friend. You know, my son played with this other boy, and his aunt was one of the women who was killed.
Yeah.
Kendall Francis, I think that was his name. It was happening in Poughkeepsie. Yeah.
He might have gone under another name because there's a mailman up there in death row with me and several other people that were on death row with me.
Yeah. Oh, he didn't get in Pennsylvania.
No, up here in New York.
I thought there is no death row in New York.
There was back when I was
Oh.
back in say I was up in Dannemora and say I was up there in 1999
Yeah. Okay.
and we used to go outside and talk to death row inmates.
Sure. They probably liked it. They probably
I
liked
mean
it.
they come out in the same cage.
But none of them got put. They must have stopped it all because nobody got killed after 1999.
Yeah, I heard that they had stopped doing death
Yeah,
row.
yeah, they haven't executed anybody in New York State since the 60s, I don't think. Something like that.
I haven't really followed.
Yeah, I don't think they have. They like, people were convicted, that was their sentence, but they put it all on hold.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's, I mean, they could officially bring it back, but they never did in New York State, I don't believe.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I was up there with a lot of the guys that had the riot that happened over in Southport, where they had all the guards on their hands and knees barking like dogs.
oh, the prisoners
Yeah.
got on top of the guards? Yeah. When did that happen? I never heard that
That
one.
was
Attica, of course, I heard of, but that one I didn't.
that was back in 92, 91, 92,
Really?
in that area. Southport riot, Pine City, New York.
Was anybody killed?
Well, I'm sure. And
I'll have to
maybe
look
not
that
a
up.
whole lot. But
Damn.
yeah, I was up there with K.O. Smitty. He was one of the guys that was in the Attica riot. I don't know if he's still alive, but prison has helped me and it's hurt me.
Yeah, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah,
There's got to be a better way
I
somehow.
mean, I think that ultimately the staff needs to be trained differently. I really don't think that they're really prepared to deal with the multitude of psychological problems and so on and so forth. You know, it's insane.
When you were a young kid, Did you watch violent stuff on television? I mean, there's plenty
No,
of
no.
You didn't have any special like for violent stuff on television or anything?
No,
like that?
actually, my parents didn't even let me watch TV,
Right.
and so I don't really know where I got this.
Were you fairly well behaved at home? Did your parents think, or did you give your parents a lot of trouble at home?
I didn't really give them too much trouble. I mean, they were really strict though.
Yeah.
So as soon as I got home from school, I'd have a peanut butter and honey sandwich and maybe a piece of fruit, and I would have chores that I would need to do. So they kept me pretty busy on the farm.
On a farm? Oh, you lived on
Yeah,
a
it was
farm.
a small farm.
Wow.
Are you familiar with Bostrick Road?
Bostic Road, I know I passed by
Off of
that.
Floral Ave. And then they have Culver Road. You know where the Ithaca City School bus barns are?
No, I recognize all these names, but my sense of geography isn't that good that I can just pick them out.
Okay,
Okay.
so it's Bostrick Road is pretty much going up towards the Enfield area if you start from Floral Avenue and you go all the way up.
To Enfield, okay,
Yeah,
all right.
Pool Road.
Well, I live on the border of Enfield and Truman Street.
Okay.
Yeah, so out that way in the farm country, we have a small farm too.
Yeah. My parents they didn't have a lot of property, 75 acres.
That's
Yeah.
a lot.
We had goats, chickens,
We have that too, but we have a small piece, yeah. We don't have pigs.
ducks.
Did you have friends? Did you have other kids you played with when you were young?
I had maybe 2 friends.
That's it,
Two or
even
three
if you're
friends.
4 or 5 years old, it was just you and your parents and your brother.
Yeah, well, my brother didn't live with us at the time. He
Right,
was just off doing his thing. But I had a couple school friends that were allowed to come over to the house
okay.
and be under strict supervision, very strict. Like I said, my parents, they had their issues, but nothing that really.
They were good people,
Yeah,
they
really
did their
good
best you could do, yeah.
I mean, they took me to church every week religiously. My
Yeah.
dad sings in a choir, you know where St. John's is?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if he's still singing there now, but he used to sing in the choir. And
did you have friends at church, or there was any children's groups at church where you? Oh.
they had, was that youth school or
Yeah,
whatever. I used to leave,
yeah, no.
go hang out with my friends while my parents were at church.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I used to try
sneak
to
out,
sneak
right.
back, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Do you feel like there's a lot of temptation for kids to go wrong in Ithaca?
right now, yeah. And I'll tell you right now, it's the way I see it is a lot of it has to do with school. So that's where a lot of people are picking up their bad habits. They see their peers, not their friends so much, but their peers, you know, coming to school, talking in certain ways, you know, using profanity that they get from their parents, and they want to follow along because they think this person's cool. They like their sneakers, they like their clothes.
Right.
And
Every parent goes through that, you know, you send your cute little 6-year-old kid off and he comes back or she comes back with like a you know, foul mouth, like, where'd you get this? You know,
Yeah.
They pick up a lot of stuff at school, yeah.
And then, you know, the second thing is the drugs. They have, you know, young kids out here using drugs.
Yeah.
Serious drugs. Like they have this synthetic marijuana or pot, whatever the hell it's called.
How young are you talking about?
13,
No, yeah, well, 13's a big age here for it. But
you know,
what age did you start messing with drugs? About then? 12, 13?
but I wasn't really, I mean, I would smoke a little weed here and there,
Yeah,
drink a little bit.
yeah.
When I got introduced to cigarette places, you know, smoking cigarettes like this, and everybody used to joke on me, you know what I mean? But I think what it is the parents giving their children too much leeway, too much freedom to go out there and, like, okay, you can go hang out at so-and-so's house, but do you actually call so-and-so's house to see if, you know, call the parents to see if the kid's safe, or if he's even there? Or I want to go out and hang out at the mall, where you're around other influences, And eventually they get in, oh, try this. It's little K2 or Tucci, which is that fake weed, the legalized weed. You start smoking that, and then you start seeing their grades fluctuate. You start seeing certain behaviors come, language changes. You know what I mean? It's what's the word? It's when you don't treat, like if they give you an antibiotic for an abscess.
Right.
What is it called when you don't finish the script and it comes back?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, I don't know what that's
I
called.
think it starts with an M. I'm just having a brain fart right
Yeah.
now. But that's essentially what's happening with the behavior. You know, if you're not following through with, you know,
Consequences and
if you're not following through with
Consistency,
that,
yeah.
if we're like, oh, well, I know I grounded you for a whole month, but I'm gonna let you off in like 5 days.
right.
Child never really learns,
Yeah.
you know, and then they turn into these social monsters. They end up in places like jail and prison, and rehabs don't do anything for you.
It's a different world when I was a kid. You know, when I was a kid, I was born in the 1950s, and you know, the mothers in my neighborhood were all home. And you know, it was a blue-collar neighborhood for the most part. Guys had jobs in factories and stuff, but they could make a good living. They had pretty big families, and the mothers were all home. And the dads all worked, were able to support the family, keep a car going, and, you know, and buy a house in my neighborhood. You know, lower middle-class house, but that was great. And we all went to Catholic school because it was an Irish neighborhood, and you know, the nuns were strict and ridiculous sometimes, but at least, like you say, they were consistent.
Yeah.
And their consequences. And the kids I grew up with did well, but now it's tough because the moms are all out working, and, you know, they're not with their kids when they're little. The kids get in childcare, and
Well,
it's a different ball game. Right? The kid doesn't know who he is. You know what I mean? You know,
Exactly.
you don't bond to your family. You know?
and here's the problem. Nowadays, you have kids having kids.
Yeah.
And kids that don't even know themselves. You see
Sure.
these young mothers, and I'm not pointing anybody specifically out, but young mothers walking up and down State Street doing absolutely nothing for themselves. All they do is collect public
Check,
assistance. And they've got to pushing their kid up and down the street. Kid doesn't know his father because he's just not trying to be a part of the picture.
Yeah.
The
Well.
mother's on drugs. So all the kid knows is I don't have a father and my mother's on drugs, and she's in and out of relationships with all these guys.
Right.
You know.
Well, there
he
was
doesn't
strict
know.
taboos about that back in the day. You know, but
Yeah.
not anymore. Yeah.
And now it's only getting worse.
Yeah.
It's getting worse and worse, and what happens from that point on is the kid goes, he starts acting out.
Violence all the time. They start thinking about violence.
They go to jail and they try to find themselves through social media or through watching violent movies or listening to violent music. You know, they start expressing themselves in all these different ways. You know what I mean? It's so easy to peer pressure somebody who doesn't have any foundation. See, you have a foundation. You.
Yeah, well, I mean,
came from
I could get in trouble as a teenager too, but you're right, I did have a pretty good foundation. You know, I had older brothers and sisters who were like, you know, pretty good examples, and I mean, we were lucky, we all had good jobs, we've all had good careers. You know, one died after he retired, but you know, he made it to 57, you know, the rest of us in our 60s and 70s and doing pretty well.
Yeah.
That's, you know, we were lucky. But nowadays, yeah, I just don't,
So
I see so much,
basically, what's happened with me is I was incarcerated for years, and I never really had a foundation myself. I had a good family, but I didn't want to follow rules.
right,
I was just totally against rules. So, this is going to sound pathetic to you, but I got out of jail. This is like the first place that I've had of my own.
how long you been here?
I've been here a couple months.
But you've been out of jail for 6 years?
Couch hopping, you know. I think I even stayed at your place once or twice. overnight.
So you were just couch surfing for 6 or 8 years?
Yeah, just couch surfing, going and staying with my baby mother.
Right.
Stay with her. She and I break up. Meet another girl. Stay with her. You know,
Right.
meet a couple friends. You know, stay outside. I was living outside in Ithaca for a while.
Do you know Mark?
Mark.
Mark Smith?
More than likely I do by
Yeah.
name.
Mark was my friend too. But, so how do you support yourself here? Did you get on social services somehow?
No, I work for the landlord.
Nice.
This hallway, I've been repainting it. And I've repainted a house up on Church Street for him. I repainted the stairways on another building.
And you're able to support yourself completely on your own work, like that's like,
Right now, it's work is diminished.
right.
And
Does your father help out or something?
he does occasionally. I
Okay.
just don't like asking him like
Sure,
that.
sure.
He's 90 years old.
Wow.
Just don't like asking him. I mean, he's set for life, but it's not the point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And if my mother was still alive, she would not even allow me to stay in a place like this, you know.
Right.
For-
But it's not, I mean, it's not that bad a place. So you can walk outdoors. It's warm. It's a place that you can
Yeah.
sleep.
And I mean, I used to live in a room up on Church Street, and landlord's like, I'd like you to have a bigger place. So they moved me down here. This is the biggest place I've ever had in my life.
How big is it? How many rooms?
It's just one big studio.
One big studio.
Yeah. I would let you in there. My wife and kid are sleeping in there.
Oh, you have a wife and child. Okay.
And, well, not legally married, but we're
Right.
together. And she has a beautiful place down on Spencer Road. Beautiful place, 2-bedroom. You know,
Right.
she'd just rather stay out here with me and just keep the family together. And I used to be in Ithaca all the time. All I was doing was just getting myself into trouble. I was running myself into dirt. And one day I almost died down in Ithaca at the Friendship Center. And that very same day, I said, I'm getting out of Ithaca. You know, Ithaca's not helping me, and I'm not helping Ithaca,
Something strange going on in Ithaca.
so. Yeah,
The rest of the world can see it. It's hard for people who grow up there.
it's a lot of, Ithaca never used to be like this.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember Ithaca when they used to have Rothschilds on the Commons.
Oh, they still have the Rothschilds,
The building,
the building.
but I'm talking about the actual business.
What kind of
It
business?
used to be a clothing store.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll bet you, I might have played tennis with the guy who ran that.
Yeah.
Trip.
Trip.
Rothschild was my friend. And we used to play tennis together downstate, and he, because he's into retail, and he was also descended from
The actual-
Abraham, who started Abraham and Strauss.
Okay.
So he was descended from the Rothschilds and that.
Okay.
So I wonder if that was his story. I know his wife ran stores like that, but he moved down to Santa Fe last time.
It was a nice place,
Yeah.
from what I can remember.
Yeah.
And they used to have the House of Shalimar. I don't know if you were familiar with that. Emalu and Abdul Sheikh owned that. They're
Well, was this before they had the big box stores? You know, Walmart and all the big places out
oh
there.
yeah, this is before
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
In
So-
fact, if I remember correctly, Wegmans wasn't here at the time.
Right.
Tops was here. I used to work for Tops years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And it's strange because as much as my parents gave me chores and really tried to instill a solid work ethic in me,
Yeah.
to this day I still struggle with a solid work ethic. Like I'll work at a spot like McDonald's, which I can do that all day, but I just get bored with it. It's just
Right.
monotonous.
Right.
So I'll be at a job for maybe 2 or 3 months and quit, and then I'll be broke for another couple 3 months, and then I'll find another job. I mean, I'm a personable person. I know how to talk to people, so on and so forth, and make a good impression, but at the end of the day, it's like my worth ethic is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that leads you into other behaviors, committing crimes, to go out and get money, lying to people to go get money, scheming people to get money just so you can support your cigarette habit or whatever it may be.
Did you graduate from high school?
No,
How far did you get?
I might have got to 9th grade.
Did you ever think of getting a GED or anything?
I got my GED,
You did get your GED.
but I didn't actually graduate.
You ever think of getting a government job?
Oh, what?
A government job.
With my record, they want you to jump through a bunch of hoops. Like, I hate paperwork.
Yeah.
Since I've gotten out of jail, I don't even like filling out applications.
No, I know
I'd
what you
rather
mean.
just do some under the table work. And then again, you know, I found that, you know, keeping a job is like building your credit, because when you decide to quit a job, or not quit a job, but go to another job, another employer will look like, oh, you've been here for 5 years. Yeah, I'll give you a chance over here, and you stay there for another 5 years.
Right.
You slowly build your
Right,
employment
yeah.
credit up.
Right.
I haven't done that. And
Right.
so a government job for me would, like, they're asking me so many questions on this damn application. It's like, wow, it's just overwhelming. No, I'm good on that. I'd rather mow people's grass or paint their house or do some under the table work,
Yeah.
you know. But the problem with that is, you know, I've never filed my taxes. I don't even know how to file my taxes. Never had a bank account, never had a driver's license. I don't know how to drive. So, you know, in a way, prison.
Your options are limited.
Very limited. And at my age, I can't afford to have limited options, you know. Like, I know some people have done 25 years or more doing better than me. Way better. You know,
Yeah.
their mind is in a different place. And not to, you know, get off the topic, but, you know, that's another thing. When guys, younger guys go to jail, they're going to jail like 16, 17, getting locked up. First in, you know, 5 or 10 years, they get involved in the gangs
Right.
and the drugs.
And then they'll never change their way of looking at things, yeah.
And that revolving door just like, it just perpetuates their propensity for doing the same thing.
I got locked up when I was 17 for one night for sleeping outdoors in Massachusetts, on Cape Cod.
Yeah, Cape Cod.
Yeah, but it was, I hitchhiked up there with a friend just to see it. I grew up in Brooklyn. And we got locked up. We were sleeping in a graveyard because, you know, we didn't want to stay in a hotel, and they locked us up for the night. But you know what? It was like the best thing that happened to me.
Yeah.
I realized, man, I don't want to be in a place like this. You know, it was just
What part of Cape Cod, if you don't mind, man?
Provincetown.
Oh, the
So
gay town.
Yeah, we didn't know it was a gay town. We were just checking. First we went to Cape Cod, you know, to Hyannisport, and then we went out to there because it was the end, and let's see what's out here.
Yeah.
And back then we didn't see any evidence of that. We were just hanging around with like some hippies. And then there was the local guys who were gonna fight some out of town guys, and we just said, let's get out of here. And we went and slept in the graveyard, and yeah, we didn't find out it was a gay town until we were hitchhiking home, and an older man came up to my friend.
Yeah.
And then we heard later. Yeah.
We used to go to St. Mary's out in Provincetown with my parents.
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's, the church, like right in the middle of Provincetown.
Oh, yeah?
Provincetown's pretty much a long drag.
Yeah.
Stores and
Yeah, I went back to it, and I actually jumped bail. And they said, you can never come back to Provincetown, you'll be alive. But I went back years later just to check it out.
Yeah.
You know? But it was a good lesson. It's like almost everybody should be in jail when they're 13 or 14 for a couple of days.
yeah,
Just to see how horrible it is that you don't want to go there and do anything to stay out of it. You know?
completely. My parents had a house in Truro,
Sure?
Truro,
Sure.
Massachusetts. It's
Okay.
a couple miles from Provincetown. There's Hyannis, there's Wellfleet, there's Truro,
Yeah, it's pretty out there.
Orleans, I think. Yeah, it's a beautiful place.
I just remember Hyannis and Provincetown.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. My grandparents used to live out there. They had a really nice place out there. My parents had a really nice place out there. And
So your parents must have been in their 50s when they adopted you. I'm thinking if your mom's in her 90s now, or late 40s anyway. You said your dad...
I'd say it's probably around there, yeah.
Did they have any natural children of their own?
Yeah, Sean Miggs.
Oh, that's your brother. Oh, he's their natural
Their
child.
biological
I see.
child. Did
And
you ever
he's
notice?
younger or older than
He was older than me.
Oh.
He died when he was in his mid-50s, something like that.
cancer?
Yeah.
Did you know Sean Miggs?
He had a dog named Bandit. Always used to have a backpack and big long beard. You know, I'm sure we must have talked about this before, but avid reader, didn't bother anybody. Just like, he was a hippie. He just liked to smoke his weed, drink his beer, smoke his cigarettes, you know. Cause you're what, you've gotta be 51, 52?
58.
78.
58, okay. So you'd have been in the same age bracket as him.
But I got Ithaca in 2006.
Oh,
So
okay, yeah.
I'm
But
out of that loop.
I came from a really decent background. So
Yeah.
for me to have gone through what I've gone through with the family that I had, didn't make any sense, you know. So I really do attribute that a lot to not knowing who I was, an identity crisis.
Yeah, that adoption thing is something, you know, that, you know, it's a reality. People have a lot of struggles with it who are adopted, you know, like
Yeah.
you do. I have a good friend who's raised an adopted girl. She just went back to Ireland and connected with her original family and was really happy to do that. She had a nice family over there. You know, her mom was too young and gave her up for adoption. It worked out for her. But, you know, I know a lot of people have been adopted. And in fact, we had a friend who had violence problems too. But he went into the service and was able to stay out of jail.
Yeah.
And, but he had a temper, and the same thing. His parents were ministers, his father and mother were ministers who adopted him.
And that's the irony of it. You come from a good family, but you end up in a bad situation.
But you know, you don't realize how much we inherit. What's his name? Who was the guy who killed all those kids? Remember, the Jeffrey Dahmer?
Yeah.
Jeffrey Dahmer said from the time he was a young kid, he had fantasies of killing people and dismembering them from the time he was a little kid. And his father, who stayed close to Jeffrey his whole life and was a good father, said he had them also from the time he was a little kid. You wonder if you don't inherit memories from somebody way back who did something and they're haunting your genes. What does the Bible say? You know, the sins of the father will be visited on the son for 4 generations or 7 generations or something like that. You know.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you know, you could be set free from that, they say. But you know, maybe you know, you would. That's why I'd be interested to see, you know, and who knows what you went through as an infant.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, I guess I never left the hospital.
Oh, okay.
Some adoption agency, and then my parents picked me up. But then these days they try to blame it on a chemical imbalance,
Yeah.
you know, which
Science behind that's kind of
could or could not be true, or whatever.
the junk food and all the stuff we eat. Who knows what's in all that?
Yeah.
I try to eat right. I feel a lot better when I do.
My wife, she doesn't eat any meat. She
I
just
don't
eats
either.
vegetables and fish and things of that.
Fruits and vegetables, and I don't even eat fish. I guess after 1 egg yolk a day
Oh, really?
from our own chickens. Yeah, but I'm pretty strict. Otherwise, I have to. Well, my health doesn't put up with it. That's what I got to do at this point.
Yeah. But, you know, I'm not going back to prison.
Yeah, well, you've done well. 6 years now, 8 years. What is it?
I got out in 2009 or 2010.
10 years.
Yeah.
You're out for 10 years. Good for you.
And,
One day at a time.
yeah. And I don't,
We're all in prison now with this coronavirus.
it's scary.
We shouldn't even be here. We'll edit that out. All right. Yeah, I don't think it's as bad as they say.
Well,
That's but you know, I don't. Well, that's my own ideas.
I think what's happening is the people are making it worse. And
With their fear.
Yeah.
With their fear. They run into the hospital with a little thing, and then God knows what they treat them with in the hospital, and that'll finish you off.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so much propaganda going on, and the government's really not telling you what's going on.
You can't trust anything. Can't trust anything.
Businesses are shutting down, and they're freaking out.
When you guys are saying that this, how many people are dying as a tribute to the hoax virus?
1%.
If you have AIDS and get pneumonia and die, it's attributed to corona. If you get tuberculosis, it's attributed to corona. All these
Right.
deaths are all hyped up that they're not.
Yeah, it's really people who are really sick anyway.
Yeah.
And some of these tests, I don't know how they're testing out. They're legit tests. I've seen people question even the blood tests. Even the CDC website says the presence of the virus does not mean it's what caused the disease. Even on the CDC websites. And the CDC is notorious You know, it's the Center for Disease Control, for
Yeah.
covering things up and not being honest. Famous story back in 2010, 2009, Cheryl Atkinson, who was a star CBS reporter, covered a very interesting story. She found out that 90% of the people who were blood tested for the given virus of the week then, whatever it was, you know, swine flu or whatever, found out 90% of them had no virus in their system.
Wow.
So they didn't have flu, pumped with flu shots. Now, God knows what's in those flu shots. I don't trust them at all. You know, they give them to poor people.
Yeah.
We know the history of that. So, you know, and they fired Cheryl Atkinson for covering that story, and still swept under the rug. And now we're still trusting Anthony Fauci, who went to school with my brother in high school and college. He was his classmate. And he says he's an honest guy, but he only knows what he knows. They don't know about health, they know about disease.
With vaccines, this nurse admitted that they have
That's the
one,
big thing, they want to force vaccines on us, and that I'm really against.
they have one refrigerator for Medicaid patients and another for people that pay their own.
Yeah.
That's a whole different.
Oh, there's a whole thing here that they say in Africa, they think they don't keep it cold enough, so it's spoiled because they don't have the proper, you're supposed to be kept at like 50 below zero or something, you know, these vaccines. And the rich neighborhoods, they can, and down there they can, and it leads to all kinds of trouble.
And you know, it's with the food pantries, they have a couple food pantries out here, the library does something and the church does something.
Right.
So this last time they dropped off food, you know, it's happened a couple times. The last time really pissed me off because those guys who were doing the food pantry, they're getting fresh food. You know, I just got 2 dozen eggs that were bad, spoiled, you know, and you call them and they're like, I don't think they're spoiled, you know, we just got them, so on and so forth, but they're not eating that kind of shit, you know. Like the milk, same thing with the milk, you know, the food we're getting, the poor people are getting is shit.
Well, you grew up on a farm, so
Yeah.
you know what good food is, yeah.
But, you know, at the same time, you know, I'm thankful for the little bit that I do get because, you know, I have a family to feed.
Right, at least you got something.
Something. I have maybe 100 bags of rice in there. And,
Rice and vegetables, you can get by on that for a long time.
yeah, that's why I really...
Broccoli, zucchini,
Yeah, nothing
Spinach.
that nice.
Well, you wanna wrap it up?
I think we should, yeah. I think we covered a lot of stuff. Hey, I want to give you the bump, but we're not supposed to, so boom. Yeah, thank you so
Oh,
much.
come on, shake each other.
What? No, we're on film. Grave, it's been great. It's really interesting, and you made me so scared now. I'm gonna just never go out again. You told me about all these crazy people running around.
Yeah.
But I know it. You know, I've been in jail. I worked in institutions and child care. You know, and they were raising those kids on drugs way back in the '80s. You know, pumping them full of drugs. And normal kids. You know, went through a hard time because there's mothers on drugs, and then they give them all these things to control their behavior. And I always wonder what happened to those kids. They grow up.
You know,
Stuff happens.
have you noticed, like, the influx in violence that's been taking place in Ithaca?
Oh, sure.
And back in the 80s, this wasn't happening.
Right. No,
Even
no.
back in 2006.
I came from Brooklyn, the 80s and 90s, it was murder capital of the world, you know, and so I'm used to, I see it, I tell everybody, and I say, you guys don't know what you're in for. You don't know what you're in for. You're pretending you have all these liberal solutions for things. I'm saying some